Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the From the Booth podcast. My name is Mike, and today, as is custom on Mondays, I got another mock draft for you guys. This is kind of the first post free agency mock draft. Most of the big fish free agents have already signed to teams, so we kind of have a good understanding of what the team's current needs are post free agency for the draft, what positions they might be looking to grab, what positions they lost in free agency, or maybe holes that they filled during free agency. So I have my mock draft in front of me right here. Before I get started, though, I want to remind you guys to subscribe if you haven't already. We are getting close to 70 subscribers, so big shout out to you guys. I really, really appreciate it. Um, but yeah, leave a comment telling me what you think about this mock draft, and let's go ahead and get right into it. So, first overall, the Panthers, they traded up for this pick. I think that they have a very, very good idea of who they're going to want to take, and I think in my heart that that's C.J. Stroud. I believe that's a guy that they love his accuracy, they love his poise, they love his ball placement. Those are all attributes that I think Frank Reich really looks forward to. It's a guy that he really likes, and obviously, like I said, there's that video of Josh McCown absolutely just you know praising him in the film room. So I think the Panthers are going to take C.J. Stroud. Next, the Houston Texans are loving it because then they're going to take Bryce Young second overall. I believe if the Texans had the first overall pick, they would take Bryce Young first overall. But being that he falls to two, they are still very happy with that. So I think Bryce Young goes second overall. I think three is where it starts to get very interesting because I think one and two to me are going to be some combination of Stroud and Young. Whether the Panthers surprise us and take Young, and then the Texans take Stroud. I think one and two is pretty clearly going to be Stroud and Young in whichever order. No, number three is where it starts to get very interesting, though, because I think at number three, you could see the Cardinals trading down because they're the first team in the draft that's not necessarily a quarterback needy team. So I could definitely see them trading down. However, I do think that if they stay at three, they're going to take Will Anderson, who is, in my opinion, far and away the best pass rusher, best edge defender in this class. New coach, Jonathan Gannon, defensive guy. He's going to want a defensive cornerstone to build around the Cardinals for years to come. I think Will Anderson is going to be an Arizona Cardinal. That leaves then the Indianapolis Colts at number four. I do think they might be aggressive, but it's going to be a little hard to get the quarterback they want because A, Carolina just traded up for one, so they might not want to trade back down. And B, the team at number two is their division rival. So there's no way that the Texans trade their division rival a top two pick in the draft. So I think the Colts are just going to have to stay patient at number four, take Will Levis, a quarterback who I think they like his arm strength, they like his build, and I think he is going to remind a lot of people of Josh Allen, fairly or unfairly. He's going to remind a lot of people of Josh Allen with his athleticism as well. So I think the Colts move right there is Will Levis. Now, the Seattle Seahawks, being the only playoff team in the top five of this draft, they kind of have a little bit of flexibility. They do have some roster holes they have to fill. But I think at five, I think they're going to take a swing for the fences. They, have visited with Anthony Richardson. They seem to really like Anthony Richardson. Seemed to really like the Seahawks, and to me, this is just a very Seahawks pick to completely subvert our expectations. Sign Geno Smith to this 3-year deal and then take a quarterback fifth overall. Um, but if Anthony Richardson is going to go anywhere, I think Seattle is an ideal spot because he doesn't have to play right away. You got veteran Geno Smith ahead of him who can be there for a year or two to wait for Anthony Richardson to get ready. Great receivers, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, an offensive line that is getting a lot better. Abe Lucas and Charles Cross saw a lot of good signs last year. I'm guessing they're going to take an interior lineman with at least one pick later in this draft. And the defense is coming into shape. So, and obviously Pete Carroll is a stable head coach. I really like Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator. So that's an ideal spot for Anthony Richardson at number five. Then heading into number six with Jalen Carter, his slide stops at Detroit. There's some character issues. There's some off the field concerns with him. What have you. But I think Dan Campbell is going to want to take a chance on one of, if not the most uh, gifted and talented players in this draft class. And I think that the Detroit Lions will be happy to take him at sixth overall. Next, going on to number seven. Going on to number seven with the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going to take Tyree Wilson, edge out of Texas Tech. The dude is long. He has got great pass rushing skills. He can be a dominant edge rusher. They're going to need a guy to pair with Max Crosby. I don't think Chandler Jones is really working out, unfortunately. So if they understand that if they want to have a good defense, they need to have a great pass rush. So pair him with Max Crosby. I think that you have a really good pass rush right there, and then the defensive backfield just needs to catch up. Great value here at 7, I think, for Tyree Wilson. So the Raiders will jump on the opportunity. Next, the Atlanta Falcons, who is, in my opinion, the best corner in this draft class, Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. Christian Gonzalez is a great athlete. He's got very fluid hips. I think he's got good ball skills. And I think the Falcons are looking for um, somebody to pair with AJ Terrell, who is also a really good corner in his own right. I think they want two shutdown corners. That would be great for their defense to lock down the passing game. And obviously, the Panthers, their division rival, they're going to take a quarterback. I'm sure Falcons. I'm sorry, the Buccaneers are going to take a quarterback, if not this year, next year, when they have probably the first overall pick or a top 5 pick. So they're going to have to play a lot of young quarterbacks in their division. So I think getting a corner to pair with AJ Terrell to lock down the skies is a good way to go. Next, the Chicago Bears at number 9, Peter Skoronski. If that's how you're saying your name, I don't know. That's you guys know who I mean. The tackle from Northwestern. Two things here: A, hometown kid. I'm sorry, local kid, coming from Northwestern. B, the Bears desperately need offensive line, and I know that Braxton Jones was okay at left tackle last year as a rookie, but maybe you slide him over to right tackle, or maybe you bump him inside. Who knows? I think getting a guy who's going to be a cornerstone left tackle for the Bears is very key to Justin Fields' development. I mean, that kid was getting murdered every week back there the last couple of years. So definitely want some more protection for Justin Fields, and I think he's the guy to go get it. You can maybe also consider a Paris Johnson, but like I was saying with Braxton Jones, I think Peter Skoronski is more versatile, so you can move him. You could probably slide him in at guard or whatever, whereas probably you can't do that with Braxton Jones. Next, Philadelphia Eagles at number 10. Just lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They have a hole at safety. They're going to take Brian Branch, the most versatile and by far the best safety in this draft class from the Nick Saban defense. Nick Saban DBs have a very good track record. I mean, Patrick Surtain, Trayvon Diggs, Minka Fitzpatrick, Eddie Jackson, just to name a few. And I think the Eagles are going to get a guy who's going to be really good, can play all over the field, can tackle, can help with the run, can pass cover. Um, the Eagles are going to love to have Brian Branch, and he's going to be a part of their next great defense. And they have the luxury of taking him at number 10. Let's go with Tennessee. Tennessee, they're going to take a corner. They're going to take Devin Witherspoon, my second corner in this draft class. I think Mike Vrabel is going to love his physicality, love the way he plays, love his aggressive nature, and I think that it's just a great fit in Tennessee. So I have Devin Witherspoon going to the Titans. Houston then is going to take a receiver for Bryce Young, their new quarterback one, and they're going to take JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba out of Ohio State, who is a slot guy, plays similarly to maybe like a Cooper Cup, where it's great route running, it's great hands, not the fastest guy in the world, but I think that he's going to be a great receiver for Bryce Young, and they can be a dynamic duo for years to come. Next, we have the New York Giants, and I'm kind of putting a little asterisk on this pick because I think it's end up going to the Packers in the Aaron Rodgers trade. So I'm going to say Kalijah Kancey if it's the Jets, but don't be surprised if this pick goes to Green Bay, is what I'll tell you. I'm going to say Kalijah Kancey. Next, we have the New England Patriots, who I think will take a receiver because Bill Belichick has been haunted by the receiver position, and he wants to get it right. They just signed Juju Smith. So who are they going to take? They're going to take Quentin Johnston, a freaky wide receiver. It'll remind Bill a little bit of Randy Moss. Not that he is Randy Moss, but it will remind him a little bit of Randy Moss with the body style and the body control and the athleticism and everything. So the Patriots are going to take Quentin Johnston. Green Bay then is going to take Lucas Van Ness to help out their edge. Losing Zadarius Smith, a year or two ago, was kind of hurt. It hurt a lot for their pass rush, and they need guys that can get after the quarterback. So they're going to take Lucas Van Ness. All right, and then Washington next at number 16. They're going to want to pair their extremely athletic pass rushing defensive end Chase Young with another extremely athletic pass rushing DN in Nolan Smith out of Georgia. Had a great combine, really showed his athleticism, and I think Washington is going to love to take him here at number 16. Next, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they need somebody that can protect Kenny Pickett. They need somebody that can run block for Najee Harris and everything like that. They're going to go with Paris Johnson, the tackle out of Ohio State. They are going to make sure that their quarterback is protected and that their young stars have the opportunity to shine. So they're going to go with Paris Johnson. Next, The Detroit Lions traded away TJ Hawkinson last year, but not to fear. They have a tight end on the board, Dalton Kincaid out of Utah State, excuse me. Um, but he is going to be able to fill that tight end position very well for the Lions. Somebody for Jared Goff to be, his security blanket. Um, and I think it was a good trade for TJ. You saved money, you got draft picks, and now you're getting to take Dalton in the first round. Next, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their positions of need are everything, but I think they're going to go best player available. They're going to go Brian Brisset, who I think has a lot of upside as a defensive lineman. Can play inside. I think he's more of like a one tech, if you ask me, but I think he can play a little bit all over the place. And then Seattle at pick 20, they're going to take Joey Porter. If there's one thing that Pete Carroll likes, it's corners with long arms. He's going to play a lot. He's going to play very well in this system. He's going to pair with Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant and not the basketball player and Mike Jackson and Trey Brown. And the Seahawks are rebuilding, their Legion of Boom. So good for them, I guess. Next, we have the Los Angeles Chargers who are going to take Zay Flowers. I've taken him in like every mock draft. If I had to bet my life on one draft pick, it's the Chargers taking Zay Flowers. Speed, they need speed. He can separate. He can make plays. You know the drill. Baltimore, they're going to take Jordan Addison because they also need a receiver, and they like big bodies. So they're going to take Jordan Addison. Minnesota then is going to take another corner to pair with, I believe it was Byron Murphy that just went to Minnesota. They need corners. Their defensive backs were awful last year. Ed Donatell won Offensive Player of the Year, which was great. And then they're going to take Deontay Banks, who was, in my opinion, one of the four best corners in this draft class. It's a pretty top heavy corner draft, in my opinion. So Deontay Banks is going to go to Minnesota. Then Jacksonville, they need interior offensive lineman. They're going to take Osiris Torrance, who is, in my opinion, the best interior offensive lineman available. Played guard at Florida, played center before in college, so he can probably play a little bit of both. The New York Giants are going to take Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame. He's a blue blood guy, went to Notre Dame, position of need for the Giants. I think Darren Waller is only going to be there for about a year or two. And rookie tight ends, they don't catch on right away, so that'll give Michael Mayer some time. That'll give Michael Mayer some time to kind of adjust to the NFL, get used to the Giant system and Brian Dable. But we saw how big of a part Dawson Knox was a part of Brian Dable's offense in Buffalo. Now it's going to be Darren Waller for a little bit, but I think to replace him will be Michael Mayer when Darren Waller. The Giants didn't make some big trade for Darren Waller, so don't expect this to be a 3 to 5 year solution at tight end. Darren Waller probably be a tight end for this year, maybe another year, and then I think it'll be Michael Myers' time. Next, the Dallas Cowboys, they need receivers. They're going to take Josh Downs. They need guys who can separate with CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, they did just make the trade for Brandon Cooks, which was good. It shows that they have an emphasis for a receiver, but Brandon Cooks is, like I said, old, and he's not a long-term solution. So if you want another young, good receiver to pair with CeeDee Lamb, I also think that you could put Josh Downs in the slot, so that would be beneficial for the Cowboys. Next, the Buffalo Bills, who are thrilled that Bijan Robinson has slid this far down. They're going to take the running back out of Texas, one of the best players in this draft, but due to positional value, will probably fall to the middle end of the first round, in my guess. The Buffalo Bills, they need to run the ball. They need to control the clock more. They need to protect the football more than they have been. I think Bijan Robinson is the key to unlocking all their problems. Next, for the Cincinnati Bengals, they need to stock up on young defensive guys. They're going to take Myles Murphy out of Clemson, edge rusher. He is going to be a good pass rusher for Cincinnati, whose defense, they made plays. They're not a bad defense by any means. They're making plays, especially in the playoffs. So it wouldn't hurt to add more young pass rushers to an already good Bengals defense. Next, the New Orleans Saints, who need everything, are going to take Will McDonald out of Iowa State, the edge rusher. Kind of philosophy there is just best player available. You kind of have everything up for grabs on this team, and so to take the best player available, I think, is the way to go. For the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to take Mozzie Smith, the defensive lineman. Just, again, more D-line depth. There's really nothing. Again, when you make the Super Bowl, you probably don't have a lot of needs, so it's just more depth. It's just more rotational guys to fill in. And if he's great, he's great. You don't have to pay him for 4 years. Awesome. And then the Kansas City Chiefs are going to take Anton Harrison, the tackle, to pair with Jawan Taylor. I think that, Andrew Wiley might be gone, so Taylor and Harrison as tackles, I think are really good, and you got a great center in Creed Humphrey, so that's a really good offensive line for Patrick Mahomes. But what do you guys think of my mock draft? Who would you guys have taken instead? Let me know in the comments down below. I look forward to hearing your responses. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.